Hello everyone and welcome back to Destiny. This season we got new aspects for Strand, the latest darkness subclass released with Lightfall. All of the aspects are actually pretty awesome, but one in particular I just can't put down because I'm having way too much fun being a glowing green unkillable Hulk of a Titan. That's right, you may have heard about Banner of War, the new Titan aspect, and let me tell you, I can't put down this build. It's too much fun and way too good, so let's just jump in and check it all out. Alright, let's start by going over the aspects. This build actually doesn't use the first two aspects that Strand originally launched with. Those were first Into the Fray, which is a great way to grant the incredibly strong Woven Mail, and a decent way to regain melee for those three charges. Next is Drenger's Lash, which is the most broken thing up until the start of last season. They heavily nerfed how long enemies, in particular champions, become suspended, which makes sense when combining this with a Ban Leap. It just made GMs too much of a cakewalk. And last season, we also got the third aspect, Flechette Storm, which is really what got me to take another look at my Strand Titan in the first place. This aspect allows you to launch up into the air, knocking enemies back, then allowing you to send out a barrage of unraveling projectiles. This is fantastic for proccing Banner of War from a safer distance. And Banner of War is, of course, the new aspect this season, which is probably my favorite new aspect in the game across all of the subclasses. You defeat a target with a melee attack, finisher, or sword to raise a Banner of War that pulses with energy, periodically healing nearby allies and increasing melee and sword damage. Targets defeated by you and nearby allies charge the banner, increasing the speed of its pulses. This aspect is pretty wild. It's basically a super, but always on. Once you proc Banner of War, any kills from anything will build up stacks and refresh the timer. It's like Devour on steroids, but easier to proc and does a better job of keeping you and your team alive. This build really rewards you speccing into blades and punches, and it feels really great to be able to lean into that as a Titan. So let's go over this build. Now remember, this is just one possibility, and it's more to show how you can optimize this concept, but of course the beauty of this is that you can customize it however you want with lots of different exotics and different weapon types. And if you've already found another wacky or god tier build, definitely share it with us down below. But anyways, going into the fragments, there are some that will help us keep a bit more of a fluid neutral game going. Now, Grapple Melee is of course a great option, but I opted to go with Shackle just to enable some synergy with my fragments, and since we're losing the Into the Fray aspect, we want to make sure that we replace our Woven Mail with some of these fragments. So let's take a look. First up, we have Thread of Fury. Damaging targets with a tangle grants melee energy, and boy will there be lots of tangles happening here, especially with this season's artifact mod, the Thanatonic Tangles. It creates lots and lots of tangles, so definitely take advantage of this. Then we have Thread of Continuity. Suspend, Unravel, and Sever effects are extended. Thread of Wisdom, defeating suspended targets creates an Orb of Power. And Thread of Warding, which converts that orb into Woven Mail. Again, important if you decide not to run into the fray. You can really customize this however you like, and it won't really affect the core gameplay loop too much, and it's more a way for you to diversify or optimize your loadout. Alright, so let's talk weapons. Of course, the talk of the town this season is Monte Carlo. It recently received a catalyst that allows you to perform a high damage melee attack using the bayonet attachment. Also, the exotic perk itself is pretty awesome as it grants a substantial amount of melee energy, which comes in handy since we have 3 melee charges. So Monte Carlo is a great choice for this build, although Quicksilver is another great choice, especially if you want to lean more into Strand. But also, as you're about to see, Banner of War's healing is so good that it even counteracts the health drain from Touch of Malice. Definitely worth looking into for some higher end content. For energy, I decided to go with the glaive. Of course, the melee counts for our purposes here, and the shield gives us some extra protection, which is nice. I'm running Judgment of Kelgrath with Pugilist, which is great for gaining even more melee energy. And then I have a sword, Thin Precipice, from last season. It's the only Strand sword, which allows us to synergize nicely into our subclass, saving us some mod costs. But of course, you can run any any sword you want. Lament is even a fantastic choice, granting you some extra healing as well for boss melts. For armor, I went with Synthocepts, increasing melee range and damage when surrounded. Stronghold would be a great choice to synergize with sword usage. And then we have Heart of Inmost Light, which would be a good choice if you wanted to replace Flechette's Storm with Drenger's Lash and maintain more of Suspend and more of your neutral game balance, although you really don't need it too much here with how much damage you're doing with these melees. Alright, so let's talk about mods. Basically, you want to generate lots of orbs and lots of melee energy. For Helm, we start with a Siphon mod, Heavy Ammo Finder, since we'll be using lots of sword, and then we have Hands-On, utilizing all of that melee damage into super energy. For arms, we have Heavy-Handed, granting more orbs. Focusing Strike grants class ability from melee kills, and if you can afford it, Impact Induction is a great choice to build more grenade energy. For chest, Reserves and Loosened Blades are strong choices, increasing recharge rate of swords and shield energy for glaives, and I have Arc Resist. For legs, this season we have the discounted Scavenger mod, so I recommend using that along with your sword. Then we have Strand Siphon and Invigoration, although you can work in Recuperation also if you want that extra backup healing. For class item, Reaper is always a good choice, and I went with Redistribution and Outreach to boost ability recharges even more. So to kick off the gameplay loop, you'll want to get a melee or sword kill. I find Flechette is a great way to do this from a safe distance. This way you can have your Banner of War going right into battle. Then all you need to do is continue to get kills. Your sword and glaive are absolutely powerhouses here. This build asks you to put yourself in the thick of it, which is why it works so well with Synthocepts and glaives and swords. Increasing banner to 4 times has insane healing, which is what allows you to maintain constant fire with that final bullet of Touch of Malice. I mean, this is just insanity. It's gotta get nerfed, right? Running out of banner, just get another sword kill, finisher, or melee kill, and you're back in business, and that's it. You're an unkillable god now. The healing is so good that I'm convinced that this might just get hit a little bit later, maybe in the mid-season patch, maybe we'll be lucky to have it all season, but it's definitely not going to make it past this season. It's going to get a little bit of that nerf hammer, which is fine. The amount of benefits it's granting is amazing, and combine that with its near constant uptime, it's just ridiculous in the best way possible. I wasn't a huge fan of Berserker at first, especially when it first launched with Lightfall, but now it's quickly become one of my favorites, and it's definitely the most fun, especially this season with these new aspects. Let me know what you think of this build down below, share your variations, be sure to like and subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss out on more Bungie and Destiny news and guides. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.